Lake Street Banter, where one of us know what the word banter means, the other one is just along for the ride. And I'm Solo Dolo on the ones and twos, but we are here with Aaron Schunk, who is going to steal the show anyway. What up? How you doing?
Hey, appreciate you having me on. I'm good. I'm pumped.
Yeah, this has been a long time coming. We've been what, 6 months now, 7 months now, trying to get this together,
Yeah,
if
man.
not
Life's
longer.
been busy.
Yeah, it's been a trip. Um, so first things first, we love here. Congratulations on the marriage this off season. What Let's dive into that. What was the most hectic part of planning, especially during the season and all that kind of stuff? And then like what was the part in the wedding that you helped plan that went off without a hitch and that was just fantastic?
Oh, without a hitch was definitely the dance. Man, we
Nice.
nailed the dance. Um, I set up some dance lessons
Oh,
with
you
my now
did.
wife. Yeah, and so we nailed that, man. It was great. But in season, hardest part of planning. Um, I mean, just in general, hardest part of planning was narrowing down the guest list. Man,
Oh yeah.
that was not fun. My family's huge, so it was crazy. But honestly, like my wife's a superhero. She crushed all of it, and the wedding was awesome. It was everything we wanted it to be, so it was great.
That's awesome. Well, congratulations. We love that. And it seems like a lot of you, you prospects, Rockies prospects, have either been engaged this offseason or got married. I'm sure you were busy going across country for all that too.
Oh yeah, that is a baseball thing, man.
Yeah, I believe it. I mean, it has to happen now, right?
Yeah.
All right. So you grew up in the Atlanta area, Decatur, right? I probably said
Yep.
that wrong. All right. Went to Georgia, second round pick, 2019, 62nd overall. All right. Now that we got that out of the way. Um, Hall of Fame, Andrew Jones, yes or no?
And he's got to sneak in there at some point, man. I'm still miffed that Todd didn't make it in.
Yeah.
We actually had a conversation about that today while we were hitting. Um, I was over at like our facility and former Cubs player Grayson Bird and I were talking, and I can't remember who he was talking about, but he was like, "Oh yeah, like so and so hit like 340 one year with like 40 homers and something like that." And I was like, "You remember what Todd Helton did in 2000?" I mean, like,
Right.
so uh, I think Andrew Jones will sneak in there at some point.
Yeah. And then my next question was Todd Helton for sure
Yeah,
next year. Like he's definitely gonna get it. I was hoping this year that
yeah,
72.2 is just ringing.
yeah.
But yeah, Andrew Jones is a very interesting case because he's definitely got the glove first, which you don't see a lot of, but he still has a
Hmm.
bat to go along with it. And just like an
Yeah.
Atlanta kid, I'm sure you looked up to him a little bit.
Oh yeah. I remember watching him and Chipper, just like the two of them,
Oh
like
my God.
obviously the two Joneses. So it was a lot of fun watching like Andrew Jones track balls down in center field, and then Chipper was hitting homers and locking down third base for them. So honestly, like some of my favorite kids or some of my favorite memories as a kid were watching like Maddox and Glavin and
Mhm.
Smoltz, and I remember pretending that like I couldn't sleep at night. And my dad's an architect, so he would bring home work, and he's got a drafting table at home, so he's like working on buildings. And I'd walk in, he's in the living room watching like Smoltz pitch, and I'm like, oh, I can't sleep. And he's like, okay, like you got 10 minutes on the couch, and I'd lay there and I'd
Yeah,
close
you're
one
faking
eye
it.
and keep one eye open, yeah, watching the game. And he knew exactly what was happening, but
Oh yeah.
he let it go. So
That's perfect. My 4 year old right now is doing that. Daddy, I had a bad dream. Can I watch TV
yeah,
with you? It's always
yeah,
baseball or basketball or some kind of sport on. I was like, you know what you're doing, and he gets
yeah.
away with it a little bit more
It's gonna
in the
work. It's
summertime. He knows what he's doing. It's a
oh yeah,
shoot. It's been going on forever.
yeah,
Um, that's awesome. So grew up with the Braves, going that round. So then like Georgia, let's go to the college piece. So you're
yeah.
going through high school, you're doing all the perfect game stuff, you're getting recruited. How did you end up at Georgia? Like was that the end all be all like as a dude in Georgia? Like was that it or
I was not a Georgia fan.
no? Okay. Does that mean you were a
I
Georgia
was
Tech? or
I was not. I
nothing?
was a Nebraska Cornhusker
That a
fan.
boy from
Yep.
Nebraska. My buddy
Yep.
James, the other guy, is from Nebraska. All right.
Yep. Both of my parents are from Nebraska. They went to Bellevue East.
Okay.
Yep. So they're actually high school sweethearts as well. So I grew up.
Whoa.
We went up there once a year for like we would go back for Christmas because both of my grandparents' families were there, and so we would go up there every year for Christmas for almost 17 years.
Oh wow.
Uh, so I was in the South, and I'm pulling for the corn, man, and everyone's just like giving me grief. Everyone's like a Georgia or an Auburn or a
Yep.
Tech fan. They're like, "Oh, like, why do you like Nebraska?" And yeah, no. So Georgia wasn't even like they weren't even on my baseball radar until I kind of understood like what college baseball, like the seriousness of it, right?
Right. Yeah.
Um, and Nebraska and Georgia ended up being two of my first offers. And so
Okay.
I had a miserable go of trying to figure out where I wanted to go, and miserable in a good way. I was very blessed with all the
Right.
opportunities, but it was just like you just weigh all these options. And I remember um, like my first visit to Nebraska was great. Like it was amazing. Darren Erstad was the coach at the time, and
Okay.
I could talk to him like he was like my
Yeah.
older brother. Like it was awesome. I would call him on like a Thursday because at that time they couldn't call you, but if you got in touch with them first, they could
Yeah.
talk. And I would talk to him on like a Thursday night for like 2.5 hours, and we would just like talk, and it was great and it was awesome. It was just so far away from home,
Yeah.
and I knew a lot of the guys going to Georgia. I played with and against them like
Hmm.
for 6 years, and a bunch of them were good friends, and they were on my travel team. And I was like, man, these guys are good, and I felt like we had a serious chance at doing something cool if we stayed together. And that
Hmm.
was one of my ultimate decisions was um, because of like who I knew was coming in, being able to play with them,
Yeah.
really good athletes, really good guys, um, and just like Athens felt like home, and so it was ended up being the perfect spot for me.
That's crazy. I love
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
And I can only imagine what 17, 18-year-old trying to figure out like, all right,
yeah,
I go hang out with grandma and grandpa a little bit more out in Nebraska or play with
yeah.
my people and like know what I'm getting myself into. And there's the Nebraska winters, man. They are chilly. So
Yep,
you
they're
missed out.
mean.
They are mean. Like we didn't have snow days growing up. We had wind chill days. If the wind chill is hitting a certain amount, you are staying home. So,
Yep.
and I know Nebraska travels that first part of the college season. They go out south and try to get out of Nebraska as much as possible. So,
Mm-hmm.
did that play any part at all?
I honestly didn't even think about like the cold during the
Yeah,
recruiting process because I spent every Christmas there.
yeah, that's true.
So like I had a lot of like white Christmases, and it was actually funny because Coach Strickland, Scott Strickland over at UGA was like, he's like, oh yeah, if you stay in the South, you don't have to deal with Nebraska winters. And so it was something that he would say to me every time we would talk. And so it's just like he'd always finish it and he'd like slip it in there, like at the end of a conversation. He's like, you don't want to play when it's cold in February. And I always thought it was funny. Like I would laugh at all of them. Um, but no, it kind of came down to my dad has always been like my baseball guy, and Georgia Tech was closer to my house than my high school was, so that felt like a little too close. And
Hmm.
then with the combination of the guys that were going to Athens, how unique and like cool campus felt, how much it felt like home, and then having a little bit of distance from home. But like I think my dad made it to what 180 of our 184 games or something like that.
That's
Like there
insane.
were very few games that he didn't make it to.
Yeah,
Um, so it was cool being able to still have him around and still have like that distance from home where it
yeah.
didn't feel like mom and dad were over your shoulder.
Yeah.
But it was
And
great.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, you because your dad still goes to games pretty often, right? Is he like
Yeah, he
how's it
tries to
Hartford right now?
he
How does
tries to
that
make
work
it
for
out when he
you?
can't.
Yeah.
No,
Okay.
unfortunately, they only got to come up once to Hartford, and then
Oh,
they
it
came
seemed like he
out.
was there forever, like every time for whatever reason.
No, they only snuck out once, but
Okay.
they came out for a week at Father's Day, so that was awesome. And then they made the trip out to Spokane in 21, which was awesome. Um, so they try and make it work when they can. Um, but yeah, I guess they've seen other than 20, which was the COVID year, like they've made it out to Boise, to Spokane, and to Hartford. So
That support system's got to be pretty good, right? Like you can
yeah,
look up there. Do you know where he's at, where your mom and dad are, like every time they're at a game?
for the most part, yeah.
Yeah.
Like when we get, especially when we're at home, like when they come to the home games, I usually like whenever we run out for like the anthem or something, I kind of like throwing my eyes up there trying to find them, and usually have a good idea of where they're gonna be. And
Yeah.
when I find them, I'm like, all right, like cool, like we're locked in. So
That's awesome. I love that.
yeah,
That's sweet. So they made it out to Boise. So they were there for your short season all-star this all-star that campaign. Um like what was that transition from that college SEC ball to the grind that is the Northwest League? I'm pretty sure it was the Northwest League, right?
yeah, man, it
Yeah.
was it was different.
Yeah, we've
It
heard some
was different.
stories from some
Yeah,
friends, and it's just like, yeah, you get on the bus, you drive 18 hours, and you start playing in two, and then you repeat, and it was just like a whole different beast.
yeah, and I guess I can say that I'm lucky, and a lot of the older guys probably they probably kind of turned their noses at us because we kind of snuck away with only one short season of it.
Right.
Um, but yeah, we it was fun. It was hard. It was a grind, but it was a blast of a season. But yeah, we went from flying on, I mean, most of the time charter jets at UGA on like these small like charter jets, like when we were going to LSU and we were going to Missouri, like we didn't take the bus there. And shout
Wow.
out to the Georgia football team for making all the
Go
money to
dogs.
to let us to do that. Yeah, go dogs. But yeah, it was you play Saturday or you play Friday, Saturday, play Sunday, finish up at like 10 at night, 11. You shower, pack your bag, and then it was load the bus and drive in the Northwest League. It was most of the times like between 6 and 8 hours, 5.5 to 8 hours probably.
Yeah.
Drive from midnight to like 8, 9 a.m. Sometimes we'd stop halfway for like, or you'd stop at a rest stop for like 10 minutes. Um, every now and then you'd get lucky and the bus driver would want to stop at like a Love's and you could stop and get like a Sprite or something. And then you'd get in at like 8, 9 a.m., 7 a.m. You'd sleep until like first bus. Then it was just bam, you're at the field, 5 hours sleep, other than what you slept like on the bus. So
That's it.
and then it was you played two games, then you played your getaway game, which normally it was on a Wednesday or a
Mm-hmm.
Friday, and so it wasn't like a day game. So you'd finish up at midnight and then drive back home and go to your host parents' house.
Yeah. Did
Yeah,
it take you back to travel ball at all, like in high school and stuff? Like it had to have
yeah,
some
yeah,
some nostalgia feeling, right?
yeah. No, it was definitely fun. It was definitely like some like college summer ball aspect, some high school summer ball aspect, and it was like you're also a professional, you're an
Right.
adult, and they treat you that way. They're like they don't really baby you, like they're like
Yeah.
make it to your lifts, get your work in, be here for early work, and then it was like be professional, get ready, help the team win, and um, it was cool. It was sobering in a lot of ways, and it was like all right, like still like a blast to play baseball, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like kind of grow up like and there were older guys around the locker room that in the clubhouse that kind of help you out, and they kind of show you the ropes, or they may have been there for a year before, or some guys that had come from like extended spring training and they kind
Mm-hmm.
of know the ropes. And so not just all being new guys was helpful. So
Right.
having some guys that kind of knew the ropes was really helpful.
Yeah. So that veteran presence is kind of, it is a big
Yeah.
deal, no matter how many times like we hear it. Like there something to that, like having that kind of older person to kind of follow and see what it's like. I'm sure you saw it like at Georgia as the freshman, and then being the senior, leading the team when you're your last year, and then going right back to it at the Northwest League. You're watching these older guys go through the grind with you, and like how much of that veteran presence like helps you feel more comfortable, I guess. I think that's what I'm trying to ask.
Uh, yeah, no, it's a good question, and it's a good one because like baseball's kind of like cycles, right? You like
Mm-hmm.
go from you're like when you're little and you start making your way up, and then you like start making like your rec all-star team or whatever, and it's like all right, like now you're the veteran there, and then it's like start over when you get to travel ball,
Yeah.
and it's like you work your way up, and like all right, now you get to like high school, and you're like all right, like now I'm kind of like a veteran in high school, and it's bam, now you're a freshman in high school, and it's like the seniors in high school are way different than the freshmen, and like you want the same thing. It's to win a state championship, but obviously they've been through 2 3 years of the grind for it. And
Right.
so you do that cycle, you do it again in college, and then once you get to pro ball, it's like, all right, the team is obviously extremely important. And it's also there's also you like play that game of the individual
Mm-hmm.
while also like being an organization of winning, right? And so like I think that's what every professional organization is trying to build is like you win as a team at the lower levels, you're still an individual, and that's what it's going to be. We all know baseball is an individual game, but that's what's like been really exciting the last 3 or 4 years, like especially since like we've gotten in the organization, is it feels really cool. Like
Mm-hmm.
we went from not doing well in Boise to the COVID year to starting off really not so great in Spokane, and then it was like bam, we just like caught fire and started winning, and like it feels like the age groups around us, the low A team, the high A team, like we're building something pretty
Yeah.
cool. Um, and so having those older guys, right? Like having like LJ Hatch was a guy that kind of pulled me under his wing, and I'll forever be grateful for it because he kind of showed me the ropes, showed me kind of some stuff to go through. Ryan Valade was another guy,
Mm-hmm.
and even though I was like the same age or like a little older than Ryan because he was a high school pick,
Right.
he'd been through it. Yeah, so he was like high pick, like had been through it, was a prospect for a long time, and so he showed me some of the ropes, which was really cool. So uh, I think we're building something really cool, like in the organization. I feel like the winning culture is like really it's building, and
Mm-hmm.
it's been a lot of fun. The last couple of years have been really fun, and we got a lot of really good guys in the organization right now, and I think the trend is going in a cool way.
Yeah. And there's something to say about that. Like the whole winning aspect, like winning together, and that makes you feel better, you play better. And like there is a sense of that. And then that camaraderie piece with it. Like you guys have been playing together pretty much since Fresno. And like it
Yeah,
seems like you've like there's like a core group of at least what 6 to 10 of you between position and pitchers that are kind of like going up together. Um, but like yeah, it's just like we hear it from the front office. I don't know how much you pay attention to that, but like it's the front office. Like we want to win down below. Like Billy Schmidt has been talking a lot about like we just want to win. We just want to win wherever at whatever level and build it up. Maybe Clint Hurdle said it or something. And then you see it across Fresno. You saw it. Spokane was figuring it out at the end of last year too. You guys grinded the entire season in Hartford last season to like build that winning that culture. Like there is something to say about that. And like you guys doing that together, I think is a huge deal. And like I think I'm speaking for you here. Like you definitely feed off of that. Like you have to feed off of the guy next to you, like trusting in them. Like they got me, I got them. Like you have to feel that kind of sense, right? Like there's got to be
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
Yeah, no, and I think what was cool for our Hartford group this year, and like you said, it's been a lot of guys kind of coming up together, like Stovall, Decolati, Toglia has obviously bounced like up and up and down away from that group, but he's been a part of that
Mm.
group. Like Daniel Cope, Stephen Jones, like a lot of this this group that was in Spokane at the end of the year after we had kind of turned it around, started winning a lot and had that bad taste left in our mouth at the end of the season. It just like translated into we got to Hartford, and it was like the first half of that season, man. Like Willie MacGyver's on that team as well, and like he's a dog, and we just had so many guys that were like, you know what, like we're gonna grind. And Coco wasn't there super long, and I'm super stoked for him on his trajectory right now too.
Mm-hmm.
But those are the kind of guys where it's like they're gonna go out, gonna compete, and it's like losing's no fun. It's just not. And I like a lot of people don't know what like a locker room looks like after a loss, and it's so much less fun than when you win. Like when you
Mm-hmm.
win, people are dancing, we're playing music, like it's fun. When you lose, it's like everybody's like gotta go, like gotta win tomorrow,
Yeah.
and it's just not it's not a fun place to be like after a loss. And so after Spokane, we got to Hartford, and it was like, all right, like season starts, we're kind of rolling a little bit. Like wasn't like the hottest start wasn't slow. Like we are kind of playing 500 ball for a little bit, and then it was like whatever it was, week 3 hit, and it was like
Mm-hmm.
we go down 4 in the 7th or the 8th, and the pitchers are like whoever's coming in like out of the pen, they're like they're getting a win. Like
Yeah.
that was what the like the pitchers were feeling, and the pitchers were cold, man. Like early Hartford, they're cold. They're out in the
It's
bullpen, and they're saying whoever they call down to get hot, down 4 in the 8th, they're gonna get a win on the mound because they were that confident in
yeah.
us, and there was no panic button. Like it was so cool. It was like we're gonna win. Didn't
I
matter.
as a fan, as somebody that watched probably more games of Hartford than I did Rockies last year, I was not turning off the game. Like from April to the end of the season, I was watching all the way through because there was that sense of urgency, and like there's some dogs in that pen, man. Like
Yeah.
you go what PJ Hallowell, Stephen Jones, throwing Darnell in there.
Oh
Like
yeah,
there's some
Finn.
dogs, man. And
Yeah,
Blair when he was rolling at the beginning of the
yeah,
season, like
yeah.
it just felt like whoever they threw out there, like all right, they're gonna get it done.
They're gonna get it done. And then
And
it was like anyone who came up to bat was gonna get it done. It
yeah,
was like you get down to a big situation, the 7th, 8th, ninth. It was like Tovar is Tovar. He's gonna hit a double or a homer. That's what he does. Stovall's gonna make a diving play
yeah.
wherever he is on the field, whether it's second, short, at third. Like he was gonna make a diving play, and he was going to come up in the 8th, and he was going to like turn somebody around, hit a homer, smash something off a wall.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like it was just so cool because there were so many guys where it was like, and Dino put it, he put it a great way. He was like, I can't put out a bad lineup,
Yeah.
and he said it to us. He told us like at the beginning of the year, he told us in the middle of the year. He was like, "Oh, we're making a playoff push when we're in Richmond," and it's like, "Yeah, yeah, we are." Like, he's like, "We can't put out a bad lineup. It didn't matter who it was. We had guys that weren't playing every day, where it was like that
Like why
guy's
not?
not an everyday guy. Yeah, like,
Yeah.
and then you got Doyle, who like people call the Terminator, man. Like, dude can beat out an infield single, and he also hits baseballs to the moon. Like,
Yes.
the team was a blast. We had some just it was a lot of fun. It was a great
Yeah.
group.
Yeah. It was fun to watch. And like, I mean, speaking right on that, I think what was it, July 30th? Walk us through that day. I think it was July 30th, the walk off. Like
Oh,
you were pumped. And like it was I
oh
remember
yeah,
watching them like And then I think that's when we started our conversation, like, let's fucking go, let's do this. And like,
Yeah.
have you ever had a walk-off moment, or was that like the first? And
I My dad says that there was one in high school, but it was a run rule walk off,
that doesn't
and
count,
I was like,
pops.
that doesn't count. And it was
No.
obviously that one was cool. We were like, we were playing Boston, right? We were playing the is it the Sea Dogs? Yeah, Sea
Yeah.
Dogs, Portland. And I think we'd all gotten like a little frustrated. Like the series wasn't like going like super great. We saw like Somerset was like catching up, and because we were cruising, right? And we started a little weird, and like got up in that at bat, and I was like, man, like I need to be tight. I need to be tight to this pitch because like he got up there and he was throwing it was like bam 99, bam 100 like on
Mhm.
the Hartford's uh like radar. I was like, all right, like I gotta be tight to this. And I was like, he's like a power pitcher. He's gonna go fastball first pitch. And he gave it to me. And I swung and missed, like fouled it off. And I was like, oh, I stepped out and was like, oh man. And I stepped back in. I was like, I hope he puts it there again. And for whatever reason, he did. And that was my favorite swing from the year just because it was my most efficient swing.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, I let out some serious emotions around the bases, but I was just like fired up. Like
Yeah.
I was pumped that I was able to be in that position and I was able to come through for the team. Like it felt really good to like pull that one off for the guys.
Yeah.
But yeah, first walk off, it was just a blast. Yeah,
that's
it was great.
that's awesome. And like, yeah,
Yeah,
and crushing 100, like
yeah,
that just gotta feel good. I'll never
yeah.
experience like that. Like, that's gotta be cool.
I hadn't really turned on a fastball all year like that way
Yeah.
either. And so I was like the fact that it happened on 100 like so I wasn't swinging out of my shoes. Like I wasn't
Right.
expecting that to happen. And honestly, that's how homers happen is when you least expect them, they kind of come around. So
Yeah. That's fun. Like, it's always something new. There's always something every day that's gonna happen.
yeah.
All right. So speaking of pitching 100, not that you ever did. I don't know your pitching arsenal, but I know you were a dog in college. Like, you were the go-to, you were the closer, third base, then you come in and close it out. Schunk versus Schunk, 10 at bats. How many hits are you getting? How many you
Oh,
hit? How many hits? And you can go prime pitcher versus prime hitter.
wow. That's a tough question, especially knowing like all of my own holes.
Exactly.
Um,
10,
man,
10 at
that's
bats.
10 at bats. I think I can get two or three knocks off myself.
All right.
I think I'd give myself two or three knocks. I don't know if I'm going yard off myself unless I hang a slider, which I had a tendency to do. So I might hit a bomb on myself.
Looking fastball, hoping
Uh,
for a hang, and then just
yeah,
crush and
and
turn.
just get lucky, turn and burn on something. No, I mean I had a blast pitching at school, man. It was a lot of fun. That was another actually reason why George ended up it was another part on like the checklist going down the
Okay.
list because they were like, yeah, like Strick was like, I can see you pitching here too, and I was like, sweet,
Yeah.
like I had gone to other schools and they're like, oh yeah, we only see you as a pitcher, like we don't see like we only see you as a hitter, and
What did Nebraska see
like
you as?
I think they said I could do both.
Okay.
They said it would be something that I was going to have to work through,
Okay.
um, and like Duke was like, I got down and like sat down was I think they were in the process of giving me an offer and they're like, oh, like you want to hit too? Like I think they only thought I was going to be a pitcher. And I was like, oh, like I thought we were under the impression that I was going to be a hitter first and then a pitcher. Um,
That's
just because like
hilarious.
I never really saw myself much as a pitcher. I kind of felt like a thrower. I even told like
Yeah.
our pitching coach at Georgia, I was like, Coach Kinney, whatever you relay to Mason behind the plate, I'm gonna throw that. I was like, I'm not gonna shake you off unless like something's wrong and I can't like throw a slider. Like then
Right.
I'm not gonna shake you off. I was like, you give it to me. I don't want to think at all. Like whatever you think is gonna get that out, I'll throw it. But no, it was pitching was a blast. But I guess I've always been like that kid where like when I close my eyes and I'm like, you hear like, oh, like now batting for the
Hmm.
Colorado Rockies. Like I always imagine myself like walking up to the plate with a bat, and
Okay.
so that was kind of always like my thought process.
So like was there ever any talks from the Rockies when they were talking about drafting you and all that? Like we are only drafting you as a hitter. Was there ever any talks about putting you at a pitching role? Was that ever a thing?
The Rockies never said anything about the pitching. Um, there were a couple teams that like asked me in some of our like early meetings where they were like, "Oh, like what do you want to be drafted as?"
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think whenever I answered that question, I was like, "Oh, like I see myself as a hitter." Like I told them, like
Right.
when I close my eyes, I see myself like making it as a hitter. And they're like, "What if that's not an option?" I was like, "Well, then I'm gonna pitch. Like, I'll do whatever I got to do to get up
Right.
there." Um, but I do remember uh, like on the trip when I was signing officially with the Rockies, I remember I was going through and doing like a little bit of like a medical eval, and like the team doc was like asking like anything about my arm or anything. I was like, oh, like I had a stress fracture in high school, and it was like, it's like okay, like what was that from? I was like, oh, it was from when I was pitching. He like looked over and was like, oh, I was like, Schunk, you gonna do any pitching? And they were like, no.
And that's how you found out.
And that's how I was like, it's all right. Like I'd rather just hit.
I'm okay. I'll just hit some dongs. That's fine. So
Yeah.
like do you ever like go to Coach Denorfia and like, yo, if Steven can't do it, if Declare Calvo can't do it, I can pop in.
I
You
never pulled it on Dino.
no.
I tried it on Solis in Boise in short season, and Freddie Ocasio is there too, and I was like, hey, like, and it was tough. Like Boise, we had some good guys, but like our pitching staff was just like beat. Like we had gotten to a point where just so many people were hurt that we just didn't
Mm-hmm.
have enough pitchers, and so the pin was like really struggling in the sense of like workload. Like
Right.
there weren't enough guys and too many innings. And I remember one time I was like, hey, like I was like, so Lee's like I pitched in college. I can get out there. I'll throw 80. I'll just throw it over the plate. Like whatever happens, happens. But like I'll try and help those guys like just get a day for like break or whatever. And he was like, before you threw your first warm up pitch, I would have been fired. And I was like, okay, I don't want to do that to you.
So that's a
So
no,
nah,
coach.
yeah, pitching wasn't really on the table.
Do you miss it at all? Are you good?
Like sometimes I miss that like competitive like feeling of like the game being in your control, or
Mm-hmm.
you're up there and it's like kind of get that like Scherzer feeling, whether you show it like on your face like Scherzer, or if it's like in your heart like
Right.
hit like some guys like so like I definitely miss that competitive side of it just because you don't get it. Like you get it when you're hitting because it's like you versus him, but you kind of have to control it in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense,
Yeah,
like
I get
you
that.
can't be up there like seething. Like, well, I guess who said that you had to hit the baseball bat? Was that Gary? Was it Lou Gehrig?
That sounds
So
like a Gary comment. Yeah.
somebody famous said that. I'm gonna get some flack for not knowing it, but I remember reading a quote where it's like, "Oh, the best way to hit is like when you're super mad." Um, but it's definitely something I miss a little bit.
Yeah, I can see that. Um, yeah. So I mean, hitting wise, like you had a season last year. You did your thing. So like you led the league in doubles. That's one more than top prospect Anthony Volpe. Just put that out there. You said I said it, not you. You're 11th in the league in hits and sixth in the league in RBIs. And just what's that mean to you? I guess I don't know what the question is. I kind of wanted to just bring up your numbers and brag about you for a little bit, but like being like ahead of like a top prospect of Volpe. Like I know you know who Volpe is and like where he's at on the top of the prospect list. Like, and you're outdoing him in doubles and you're up there in RBIs and like hits and all this kind of stuff. Like because your last year, like you were like you had a rough 2021 from the injury and all stuff, and like then you had to come back and bounce back last year, and you did, and it's got to kind of feel, I don't know, confirming like, yo, I can still do this, and like I did put up those numbers, I still can do this. Like, does any of that like go through your head, or am I just putting words out there and like confuse you even more?
No, no, the way you put it is kind of how it definitely how it felt, where it was like, all right, like I had a tough year in Spokane, and it was frustrating for me. Like it was something that, success is something that I would think most guys always want. And for me, it was like it hurt like a lot, especially after
Mm,
the short season, like and then like COVID, like it just hurt to not come out and like perform the way I wanted to perform. And so like that weighed heavy on me going into the off season. And like I was like nervous. Like I was like, all right, like I gotta pick up the bat again. I gotta figure it out this off season. That way I can go into this season feeling good. Felt like I made some adjustments. Talked to Everson and really tried to narrow some stuff down. Felt really good. Got to spring training and performed, and then started the season slow. And I was like, shoot, like what is this gonna do?
mm-hmm.
Um, and Forbesy like told me, it was like, hey, I understand where you're at. He's like, I'm not worried about the numbers right now. And so like that felt good. Clint came in town. He's like, Chunky, like you gotta be honest with yourself. And he's like, you're a good player. And so just like hearing a little bit of that felt good. And the season wasn't like the start wasn't bad. It was just like some hard stuff like right at people. Like I had the case of the
Mm-hmm.
right atoms. Um, and then like started to pick it up and obviously um, got into a good spot and felt good and proved to myself that I still had it, and that was definitely a good feeling. And um, had a good season, proved that I could hit, but didn't necessarily prove some other stuff. Like the patience, like there's a decent amount of chase. So like, there's still a lot of stuff to work on. And that's been the focus this off season is like getting better on the pitch selection. And hopefully we can put both of it together and kind of cut out some of the strikeouts and
Mm-hmm.
then keep some of the doubles around,
Yeah.
and then lose a couple, hit some out of the park.
Right. I mean, you dropped your strikeout rate 6% from 21 to 22. Like you still dropped it, and it's still something that you want to work on. I think that speaks a lot just in that sense. So like,
Yeah.
so last year we talked to Coco around this time, and he was saying like pretty much exactly what you just said. And like he talked about eliminating one part of the zone. Like, for example, I don't know exactly what it was, but like low and away, if I hit it, I wouldn't hit it very well. And so I would just eliminate that out of my repertoire. I try to get out of it unless it was like a 2 strike count, and like that would be my approach. Is that something that you're doing now, like in this off season, or like what is it that you're working on to kind of make that next step forward?
Yeah. So, sorry. Tom Suteris, obviously the hitting coach in Double A, and had a phone call with him not too long ago, and he was like, "Chunky, like," and Tom is a baseball guy, man. Like he is gonna ride or die for you. Like
Mm-hmm.
if Tom just spent 12 hours at the field and you're still sitting in your locker like after a long day and you're like, man, like I need I need 10 swings or I need 100 swings. Tom will be showered, like ready to leave,
Love
and
that.
he'll see you in your locker and he'll be like, what's going on? And you're like, I feel like I need some swings. And he's like, let's go. Like he's just I can't there's not enough good things to say about Tom. Um, but he was like, hey, I was like looking at your hot zones again. He was like, I was checking out like where we were good in the zone. And I was like, yeah, like, like we really kind of banged some stuff around, like kind of in a T, where it was kind of like top of the zone, like
Hmm.
basically right. Like if we split the zone up into like thirds, I was kind of like right in between there. I was kind of smacking stuff. He was like, if we can eliminate low early, he was like, it was just soft contact. And I was like, like that's kind of what I've been trying to do. I'm trying to be a little bit more in my legs, try and take that low pitch and just kind of keep hammering those balls in my hot zone. Um, and so that's just been something that Tom and I have talked a lot about, is like making conscious pitch decisions in batting practice. And
Hmm.
so it's like off the machine, off the arm, whatever it is, you just can't get into swing mode. And so that's been my main focus, and that was something we did in season a lot with him, and something that I'm doing this off season to try and kind of help pull some stuff together.
All right. That works. Is that hard? Like, like I know you say it, right? Like, I'm just gonna eliminate the bottom, and but then you're all up in it. Like, is that like just
It's
that
hard.
hard, man? Yeah.
It is tough because it's like, I don't know. Ever since I've been a little kid, like if I had stats going back to when I was like a little kid, I bet like my swing percentage is like up there with the most swingers of all time. Like
Hmm.
whoever just never swings at. I was just never one of those guys that could take a walk, and I didn't do it at Georgia. I didn't do it in high school,
Hmm.
and so that's been something that I've had to learn, is like those guys aren't always going to throw you a pitch to hit in an at bat.
Hmm.
And I think I get caught up in being a hitter so much sometimes that it's like it causes problems where it's just like, like I swing
Yeah.
it like a low, like a slider that's kind of breaking out of the zone, but I'm like, I want to hit. So um, it is tough, and it's something that we talk about a lot, is like train as you fight. So like turn the machine up high, replicate like game stuff. And like
Hmm.
Dino actually did some cool stuff with me last year, where it was like he was like, play a game for like 10 pitches, and it's like I'm gonna move like the machine around, and he was like, see if you can take those borderline ones and then smash the stuff in the middle.
Mm.
And it was tough. Like I
Yeah.
think the first time I did it, I went like 4 for 10. And you're like 3 for 10. And I was like beating myself up. I was like, man, that's awful. And he was like, that's the first time you did it. This is something that we have to like,
Right.
you just have to rep it out. Um, and you just have to train your eyes and your brain and connect the idea that you're making a conscious decision. And it's a split-second decision. Like everybody knows how fast you have to choose to swing.
Hmm.
Um, what is it, like 3/10 of a second? So you
Yeah.
don't have any time. Um, so it's just repping it out. It's hard, but it's something that like you have to do to if you want to get better at it.
Yeah. Yeah. We all have to do train in whatever way for our career and whatever it is. Like you're
Yeah,
you're you're taking
yeah,
fastballs at the knees, and I'm trying to look up things to help me with the kids in the classroom and stuff.
yeah,
So
exactly. Yeah,
it's all a grind. So, and it's
yeah,
difficult. Like you have to take those baby steps. That's one thing I've always told myself, like, I want to do all of this. This is what I want, and I'm going to do it all right now. I was like, no, you've got to build up those foundational steps to be able to do that. And then you're not even going to realize you're working that hard. Like it just comes
yeah,
second nature. It took me a very long time in my professional career to get there. And like, what, you're
yeah,
3 years into yours, like you're still figuring it out. Like,
yeah. It's
so,
hard, and it's definitely like you bring up a good point on like that self-awareness like part, right? Where it's
mm-hmm,
like I think a lot of us we get into pro ball, and it's like you're like, I'm a big leaguer, and it's like, no, you're not. You haven't struggled yet. Like you
yeah,
haven't you haven't had a a, a bad year in high A in the Northwest League. Like you
yep,
haven't learned what it's like to face uh, a bunch of like dudes in high or in double A that spin the crap out of the ball and have some serious extension. And then you've got like rehabbing or all this Chapman and Scherzer. Like you haven't had that yet. It's like you
Right.
get the short season, it's like, oh, you started playing well, and you're like, oh, I could be up there. And then you realize, like, all right, like there's a lot of parts of the game that I don't know, that I haven't learned, that I have to go through, I have to struggle through, I have to fight through, I have to learn some hard lessons. And being self-aware is one of those aspects that I think the minor leagues is for. Like, you learn a lot about yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, we hear a lot about the grind, the get into it. Like it's a thing. And it's, everybody we talk to, it's says something in that sentiment that you just did. Like you learn a
Yeah,
lot and you figure out what you need to do to get there, and then you do it, and then something else is gonna happen that you have to work on.
yeah,
So that's a
yeah.
grind. You just mentioned Scherzer and Chapman. What was that like? Was that
Oh, it was a
insane?
blast.
Yeah.
It was a blast. And it's like your ultimate competitor side comes out against those guys. But part of me was like, I felt like a little kid, man. I was
Yeah,
like, I'm
right.
facing two guys that like I grew up watching, which is like not a bad thing. But I was like, man, like whatever happens, like I get to say that I hit off in professional baseball. I got to hit off these guys. And then like the ego side of you is like, man, I want to like just smash a home
Right.
run with these guys. It's like complete competitor. Like that's all you want. Um, but it was like at the end of the day, it was just really cool. Like that you get up there and you're like, oh, like all you've ever heard is that like Chapman's fastball is like unseeable, it's unhittable. And then you get
Right.
up there and you take the first one and you're like fouling off and you're like, oh, that he puts his pants on one leg at a time, just like
Right.
I do. And so that was cool. It was cool because you get that dose of reality where it's like, all right,
Mm,
they're human. Like this
yeah.
guy's same. He puts his pants on the same way as you do, and that's what Dino would always say to us. Like, that guy's he's got to put his pants on one leg at a time, just like you. And so it was just it was a blast. I just had a big smile on my face after both of those at bats, and it was anytime you get to face somebody like that, like at that caliber, I really enjoy it.
Yeah, yeah. I think they were. There's a. I'm going out there. I think the Yankees. It's the Rumble Ponies, right? Is that their affiliate?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure they threw Scherzer and Chapman in to try to make that playoff push for the Rumble Ponies, because they were pushing, like, you guys were going neck to neck at that time, and somehow, some way, Chapman was doing his rehab at that time. Um,
Yeah.
just throwing that out there. I think it was kind of bush league. All right. We always like to finish our conversations with some fun ones. Um, so let's. I got two or three here for you, and then we'll let you continue your night. But what's it like traveling with Mikey Toglia? Is he kind of needy? I think it was. I think it
He's
was your All Star break last season. You guys went on a little vacation together.
yeah.
Like, he's got it. Is he needy?
Needy, like in what sense? Like,
Just, I don't know. Is he needy? I don't know. I don't know. Like,
nah, I
you
just
have a
think he's a
sense in your mind. I just don't. I think
I
you
just
want me
think
to
he's a
say it.
goober. I think he's just
He's
a
a
goober,
goober.
man. Yeah. No, I love Mike. He was one of my groomsmen in the wedding, and he's been uh probably like one of my best friends in the
Mm-hmm.
organization since like day one. Um, is he needy? We all give him crap because we call him a white collar player as opposed to like Stovall, who's a blue collar player, just
Yeah,
because he comes from UCLA, and we
from the
kind of
West
give him
Coast, not the East Coast.
yeah,
Yeah,
we give him a hard time. Nah, he's a great dude. Spent a lot of like late nights in Boise. Like everybody else is like asleep on the floor, like curled up in like the worst positions possible for professional baseball
right.
players to get ready to play a game. And he and I would like sit there and we'd be talking about like just everything, baseball approach, just video games. And I will say, he is just competitive in everything he does, whether
Yeah,
it's Mario Kart, like on my bachelor party, like everybody's kind of like playing Mario Kart like for fun. And he's like over there, like he's got all the cheeses, like he knows how to like hit all the turns and like just completely crush everybody. And he's an ultimate competitor. I'm better than him at ping pong. That's my
going
I
out on
got
that.
that up
Okay.
on him. No, I love him. He's a great dude, and I'm
Yeah.
super stoked for his future.
Yeah, was that so? That was probably pretty cool when he got that call up last year. Like,
Oh,
you were
he got
probably
to
just
do
as
it in
giddy as he
Atlanta
was.
too. Oh yeah, he got to do it in Atlanta. I called my wife and I was like, hey, like, because he called me and I was like, hey, like, don't tell anyone, but you need to go to the Braves game tonight.
Uh,
And my wife is a pediatric intensive care unit nurse, so
okay.
they're
Oh,
on for like they're scheduled for
12.
12 hours. They're
Yeah.
basically on for 13
Yeah.
because they've got like stuff before and after, like report stuff. And she got my text. She's like, all right, like I got to figure out a way to get there. And so she got there and she got to sit in his like little fan section. And no, super stoked for
That's
him.
awesome.
Uh, he's got some stuff that he's got to work on, and we've been talking a lot about that this off season together. Like we kind of bounce a lot of ideas off each other, whether it's video or just like talking.
Hmm.
Um, but I'm excited to see what he can do in big league camp, and hopefully he can break with the team and have an instant impact.
Yeah. Yeah. He's gonna be fun to watch in Coors.
Mhm.
He's gonna hit some bombs. Yeah, it's gonna be
Oh
fun.
yeah.
That's and you're better than him at ping pong. That's what I heard from
Hey, I got it. I got that
that.
on him.
um, and then how did you get into fly fishing? Like, it seems like a thing. Like you love it. That seems like that's your off day thing. That's what you're
Yeah.
doing. Um, just like how does one get into fly fishing? Like I've like I have
I
to
got
assume you didn't grow up with it.
I didn't. Like my dad didn't really fish a whole lot. Um, my my great grandfather was like a really serious outdoorsman, and it didn't really fall to like my dad or his dad. Um, and in 2020, when Mike and I were actually at the alt site, and that was kind of a cool thing that we got to be a part of, and it was a way for us to kind of continue our progression during a year
Mm-hmm.
where like a lot of people didn't get to do that. And I'm like very thankful for that opportunity because it was a blast. Um, and one of our trainers, Coy Coker, he is from Colorado, and the year before, someone had gotten him into fly fishing, and Colorado is obviously probably one of the best places that you can do it. And he grew up in a pretty cool town where they had like a trophy trout water like 5 minutes
Okay.
from his house. And so he was getting into it, and a bunch of the guys we had like gone and done like a guided fly fishing thing. It's outdoors. It was like during COVID, so we like trying to do something as a group that wasn't going to be like against protocol, and it was like
Right.
we're all going to be outside. We are wearing neck buffs. So it was like a way to do that, and I hooked my first fish. I was like, oh man, like that's cool. Like that feeling is different than like if you
Yeah.
catch like a bass or like something like that. So I started like looking up YouTube videos, and my wife knows, and I get some crap for it, but I'm a all in hobbyist. So like
Hmm.
when I pick something up, it's like I want all the gear and I want it now, and so she has to tone me down on some of that stuff. But like I'm looking up YouTube videos and I'm talking to Coy like the next day or whatever. He's like, oh, like he's like I started fly fishing last year. I was like, oh no way. He's like, do you want to go sometime? Like I don't really have any of the gear. And he's like, oh, like one of my best friend's dads owns a fly shop. And I was like,
Nice.
yes. And so like we went up after like one of our days or whatever, like one of our off days, and like I got like completely fitted out, like got everything I needed. And then it was like every time we had a day that finished at noon, we would just drive an hour and
Wow.
go fish somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I got to fish like 10 or 8 to 10 different rivers in Colorado. And I was like, I mean, it was literally after I hooked the first fish, I was hooked on fly
That's when you were in there.
fishing.
That's
Yeah,
fun.
no, it's been a it's been a cool like journey, and uh it's been like you said, it's been an off season thing or an off day thing for baseball. So like
Hmm.
out in Spokane, like On
Oh
Mondays,
yeah.
I would go fish. I'd drive up to the Idaho Panhandle National Forest, like drive an hour and 30 minutes, like up into the woods, and just like that was my way of like clearing my head
Yeah.
because like, and I really needed it that year, man. Whew, I was,
Yeah.
I was scrambling.
We all have
Um,
our ways. Yeah.
yeah, and so like, and then last year in Hartford, like I found some water on the Farmington River and would go there a couple times on the off days, and I would borrow Stephen Jones's Forerunner, man. Him and Noah Davis. I can't
Yeah.
thank the two of them enough because they would let me borrow their cars, and that was it was huge on their part. So um, no, those are
That's
two
awesome.
dudes that people need to look out for them too because
Oh yeah. Yeah.
man,
All
they
right.
both got some juice.
Yeah, I love watching Noah Davis do his thing, and like we talked to him last year around this time, and he was explaining like his method and his how he goes about it and analytics, and like
Yeah,
you're just you're built different all across the way, like
yeah,
the way you're able to break it
he's
down.
he's got a really cool mind when it comes to pitching,
Yeah.
and it was fun, man. It was a lot of fun to play defense behind like him and Stephen Jones because it's like I'm throwing them out there 100 out of 100 times,
Hmm.
and even if it didn't go the way they thought it was gonna go, like I'm throwing them out there the next time too.
Yeah.
Because same with Hollowell, same with PJ, same with like Phineas Banter Smith, like
Yeah. Man.
Calvo. I mean, just like you could whatever name
Yeah.
you gave me, like
That
I'm
armbar,
taking them
man.
all. I'm taking them all. You know,
Yes.
Kaufman, like we just got a lot of good dudes, a lot of good position players too coming up. You know,
Yeah.
like we're gonna be in a weird position with like too many good players here, which is obviously a good problem to have. So
Yeah. Yeah. It's been fun to watch like you all kind of go over these last 2 3 years. Because I mean, this is kind of what got me into the minor leagues, like the 2020, we started this, and then like, all right, Rockies are struggling. So let's dive into these prospects and then start following you and then start talking to you all. And so it's like there's some there's some guys, and I don't know if there's enough recognition. And so then it kind of like, all right, let's start promoting these guys a little bit more and let's put these names out there. And like so Aaron Schunk is somebody that people are aware of. And like Duke and Darnell, he was our very first interview. That's why we love that man.
uh, I
Duke's,
love me some Dubs, man.
yeah, he
Went
was like,
went down under and killed it in Australia.
yeah, yeah. Hopefully, he can hop on with us a little bit, tell us about that, and like, it's just like you guys are normal dudes, and you all have your unique stories. Like he's a D3 third baseman turned independent pitcher to was
Yeah,
in an office and
grinder,
they got the
man.
call, and like you went to SEC, was top of the team at Georgia, and like here you're both grinding, you're both doing the same thing, you're both doing it together, and like how we started the conversation, like
And
you're a
both
team.
catching dubs on Fortnite. That was some serious stuff. That's another thing I attribute to our good chemistry this past year
Fortnite
is
still okay.
yeah, we'd go and we'd beat somebody on the field, and then we'd go and it was another name that I haven't mentioned tonight is Kyle Datchers. That guy is also a dog.
Yeah, that dude.
Uh, but me, Dugan, Datris, and Hollowell would hop on Fortnite post baseball win, and we would just grind out some Fortnite, you know. And we had some nights where the four of us would just like win 5 games in a row, and then we'd have nights where like all of us just want to just like smash our like teams. But it was a blast, man. You know, like I said, the chemistry was just really cool on that team.
Yeah, and that goes a long ways. Yeah,
Yeah,
Fortnite, Fortnite will keep some friends together. Like
yeah,
my high school buddies, right before, yeah, right before COVID and stuff. Like we were playing late night Friday nights, and we'd all hop on.
mm-hmm.
We'd try to get a dub. We wouldn't end the night until we got one team dub, and
Yeah, yeah.
and it
And you
was
like look
just
forward to it for the
it was
week.
so much fun. Yeah, that was
Yeah,
our Friday nights.
it's what got you through. Like you get to Wednesday, and it's like, I got the boys on Friday. Don't
Yep, I
forget.
got the boys, right? It was awesome. It was awesome. All right, last question. I think you might have already answered this, but it's one of my favorite questions. Your favorite all-time baseball moment from Little League to where you are now. Just that one moment, that one game, that one play that you kind of go back to every once in a while.
Uh, one of my one of my all-time favorite moments is high school state championship. Well, okay, I'm gonna throw two in here. It was they were in consecutive series in high school. I had an at bat at the end of a game where it was like the second to last inning or like the top of the inning or whatever. We're away. We're playing GAC senior year. Our team has no business making it to the state championship game. Pretty much every other team in the running was like better than us, but we had some heart. Like at the end of the year,
Mm-hmm.
and I get up and there's like, I think there's a runner on first or runner on or two runners on, and whatever it was, if I hit a homer, it was going to tie the game, and we were going to like have a chance to like kind of extend it. And I get up and I remember like thinking to myself as I'm walking up, this is my last high school at bat. Like this
Yeah.
could be my last one. And it was like, dang, like we came so close, like whatever it was. And I was like, I was before I stepped in the box, I was like, I'm just gonna go for it. Like I'm just gonna I was like, it might be my last one. I gotta give it a shot. And I went down 0-2, just like not in a good place. And dude hung me something and I kind of golfed it and I hit it and I did the like right down the line, like
Yeah.
off the bat. I was like, it's got like I hit it good enough, but I was like, is it gonna stay fair? And I'm just like standing there and I'm like holding the bat. I'm just like, oh, it's gonna stay fair. And then I turn, the ump's doing that, and I throw my bat.
Let's
Holy crap.
go.
The place like went bonkers. We ended up winning the game and it got us to the state championship. And that like leads me to like my favorite moment was like where it's the bottom of the seventh. Sorry, I almost said the ninth. Bottom of the seventh, two outs, runners on first and second, and the kid that's up to bat hadn't hit a homer all season, and he has three in the last three games. And like, dude's like going crazy in the state championship. And one of my best friends is on the mound. He was also one of my groomsmen. And I'm just like in my glove, I'm saying like throw me a ground ball, Freddie. Like throw me a ground ball. There's only one out. I'm like throw me a ground ball. Like throw me a ground ball. Throw me a ground ball. I'm saying it into my prep step. Like my glove's not down. I'm saying throw me a ground ball. Throw me a ground. He throws it to me. Like threw me a ground ball. I field it, and the only thing I could think as I was flipping it to our freshman second baseman was, "Man, that baseball's wet." And our dugout, my head coach is yelling, take it yourself." And I flipped it to him. He grabs it, throws a strike, and like we won the state championship. And it was just like so cool because it was like one of my best friends was like pitching, and I was
Yeah.
like throw it to me, like I want it. And so it's just like this cool moment that came together.
That's awesome. That I think
Yeah,
that just sums it up. The whole team effort, having the people around you that you can lean on and take
yeah,
part in whatever it is together is a big part of baseball, and it's just a big part of life. And I think that just sums it up right there. Like
yeah. No,
that's
I'll
awesome.
I'll forever be thankful for all the support systems and um, like super thankful that I got to be a part of that team last year too. Because man, like there wasn't a guy like on that team that you couldn't lean on. Like that was
Yeah.
it was. And I've said it a lot, but like it was just a really fun year and a really cool group of guys.
Yeah, it looked like you guys always had fun, and I on the walk offs or the close ones, it was always fun to see what Willie McIver was going to pour in somebody's head. That was always my highlight. Dude, man was coming out of that dugout with something in his mouth
uh,
to get somebody, and it was so much fun. And then you guys would all work on it with him, and
yeah,
it was
Willie's a
fun.
goon, man.
Yeah,
He
he's
is a
fun.
character, and he's awesome.
He
He's
is
awesome.
awesome. I appreciate you doing this with us, Chunky. Like this was
Yeah,
fun. I'm sure we'll do it again. Get some
yeah,
mid-season pod in and see how you're doing and catching up. And we're rooting for you, man.
yeah. No doubt. Thanks for having me on.
Let's do this. All right, man.
Yeah.
Appreciate you. Thank you for watching and listening. Please check out our link tree for more content.